What's up everyone? My name is, wait a second. This doesn't look right. Give me just 1 second. Much better. Well, if you couldn't tell by that awful intro, we're talking about lighting today, and more specifically, how to light your videos using 3 lights. Lighting is like the most important thing that doesn't get any views. So rest in peace to this video, but we're making it anyway. So 3-point lighting is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a lighting setup with 3 lights. For mine, I have a key light here, and then I have a accent hair light, and then we've got our little other wall background accent light. And it all just ties together, makes things look better. Before we get into what equipment I use for my setup, keep in mind that these are all just the items that I personally use. You don't need these exact things to make a good lighting setup. You can use stuff that's way cheaper and get probably even better lighting than I have, or you can use stuff that's way more expensive. It all just depends on your needs and your budget and all of that. So the first light in our setup, and arguably the most important because it's lighting you, is our key light. And for mine, I use an Aputure 120D Mark II with the Light Dome Mark II as well. It just gives this really soft, consistent light that I just really enjoy. One thing I really enjoy about this light is the little remote that it comes with. You can just super easily turn it off and on. And you can also, if you have multiple of these lights or other lights from Aputure, you can sync them all. So you can basically control an entire studio of lights just from this one little remote. On their newer lights, they have started integrating an app system, but I don't know why. I like having the physical little buttons that I can just, I love it. The 120D Mark II is part of Aputure's Lightstorm series of lights, so it's a little bit higher quality and also a little bit more expensive, but it'll probably last you for the rest of time. Out of your lighting setup, your key light is the most important, so I would strongly consider making that your best light. At the end, I'm gonna get into more of the budget side of things or even completely free options, so stick around for that. Moving on, we have our hair light, which is also known as a rim light. And if I zoom it out, you can see it just hanging out right up there. I have this one mounted to the ceiling just because I didn't want a stand in the way and I wanted it there. Keep in mind, you don't need to mount yours to the ceiling. I just liked it because it got it out of the way and I don't have a bunch of stands sitting everywhere. As for the light itself, it is an Aputure 100D, which is an absolutely killer light. It's incredibly affordable. And honestly, you could use it for your key light too. It's great. It's less than half the price of this 120D Mark II, and it has very similar specs. And then on the 100D, I have a Light Dome Mini 2, so the smaller one, and then I have a grid inside of it. So it just kind of angles the light towards me, and that's where you get this little hair light. Unfortunately, that light cannot be controlled with the remote, but I can control it with my phone. So if we hop into our app here, you can see I can turn it off and on. You can kind of see what it's doing. It's making this nice little hair light, this nice little accent light that kind of separates me from the background. So there's with it off. Doesn't look awful, but much better with it on. It's not just a bunch of lost detail. Also, you can mess around with some fun little other setups too. Like if you turn off your key light, you still have this nice kind of rim light, and then it looks like on like a documentary when they're interviewing somebody that doesn't want to be on the screen and they
alter their voice and it's all creepy and spooky.
The last light in our setup is the accent light that is lighting the back wall. And I have this little GVM RGB panel, which really affordable, but pretty good quality, honestly. I like that I can just make the background whatever color I want. I always do blue because it's blue. But honestly, I've got a lot of good things to say about that light. I didn't have super high hopes when I ordered it. I was just like, oh, it'll get the job done until I need something else. It's still trucking away. Love that thing. And that light just kind of adds some interest to the background, which I really enjoy. One thing that I've found that I really enjoy is since I have these 2 shelves here on the back and the light is in the middle, it kind of just makes this nice blue like framing of light where I sit. So it like draws your eye into it and you've got these like lines pointing. And then if we go back here and just flip the little switch, this is how it looks without the light. Honestly, I don't think it looks very good. It's extremely boring. And like I'm lit very well, but like what is going on in the background? Nothing is what's going on. So if we just go back here, we can pop it on. We can have a white light, but that's also extremely boring. So you just push the little knob, and suddenly it's blue and it looks way better. So now that we've gone through our 3 lights, let's dive into some budget options. A great key light alternative would be the Aputure 100D that I use for my hair light. And as for these soft boxes, you can get some that are incredibly cheap, but they're gonna be a nightmare to put together, which is why I really like the Aputure ones. They're pretty pricey, but they just pop open super, super quick. And it makes like setting it up a breeze. But if you're not moving the light ever, who cares? Because you're just gonna set it up once and then be done. There is another company that makes a really good like quick release softbox that isn't Aputure, and it's like half the price or less. I actually have one. I'll go grab it. So it's this. It's from a company called Angler, and this is a huge softbox. It's like a 48-inch softbox. Still has like the quick release stuff. Super nice. Really, really like this. And this was like 60% the price of what this smaller Aputure softbox was. So I highly recommend these Angler softboxes. There are tons of other key light options out there, but these are just things that I've personally used and I know the quality of. As for budget hair light options, you can use a ton of stuff actually. I'd actually recommend just getting another one of these cheap RGB panels that I have for my background light. And you could just mount that behind you because it has the little barn doors, so you can just angle the light. And that would probably work pretty well. As for the budget background lights, honestly, I'd probably still recommend the GVM that I'm using here. It was only like 80 bucks when I bought it, and it comes with a stand and a case and everything. So it's a really solid setup for really cheap. Keep in mind, you don't need a background light, but we're talking about a 3-light setup. So we gotta use 3 lights. As for a completely free way to light your videos, you can just use any window that you have in your house. This is a great way to get started without spending any money whatsoever, but I wouldn't rely on it too heavily because it is incredibly inconsistent, especially living in a place like Florida where it's overcast one second and then completely sunny the next. So your lighting is constantly changing and it makes it really hard to get a nice even flow for your videos lighting wise. But if you're just starting out, this is an excellent way to get started. And there you go. That is how you can professionally light your videos with a 3-point lighting setup. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It greatly helps this channel grow. I have a blast responding to you guys in the comments, so leave some down there. And with that, I will see you in the next one.